listening to the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman, episode 198. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Small and Supercharged podcast. It's a solo with me. And today we're answering, a question that I hear quite a bit actually. A press release is dead? I mean, short answer's no, but the longer answer we're going to go into in this podcast. The thing is, I think that the idea of a press release just being that thing that you send out and then you just move on with your life, that's not a strong strategy. But there's quite a lot that goes on with the good old press release that can be really, really beneficial for lots of different reasons, which we are going to talk about today. Now, press releases are something that obviously, as I've been doing this for, not the podcast, I've been doing the podcast for nearly 200 episodes now. Can you believe it? But because I've been in the world of PR marketing and social media for about 15 years, I know I feel quite old saying that, but it is what it is. I'm not going to lie to you. That's how I started. Well, I didn't actually start that way. I started off writing for magazines, writing articles for magazines, and that led me to copyright for companies to improve their web copy, to improve their product copy, brochure writing. I did a lot of copywriting for brochures, a lot, and that led me into PR because I've always loved English. I love the written word. I used to love English language at school, and it was actually quite a good move. Now, press releases are not a dark art, no matter what people have you believe. They're actually very logical. It's a way that you're putting together what's new or newsworthy for your brand or business to allow you to distribute it to the people that are likely to amplify that message. The first thing you need to do when you're thinking about sending a press release is obviously thinking about who you're sending it to. And one of the reasons that press releases aren't dead is because these contacts can be incredibly useful without you even sending them a press release, without you even reaching out to them with your news. So when you start to build a press list, you are basically making connections with the movers and shakers in your space or in your industry. And these don't have to be just publications and websites. It could also be influencers and lots of different things as well. So building that network of people is time consuming. It is hard work. It can be quite frustrating, but it's incredibly important. It's a really important thing to do to help your brand or business grow. If you want to do the old school way, and this is how I did mine, it is a case of researching the magazines, researching the publications, looking at which ones fit your target audience and putting the work in, I'm afraid. But that's a really valuable part of the whole process before you even write the press release. So we need to make sure we've got that list, and that allows us to communicate with these people about other ideas we have as well, not just the press release, but if we've got an idea for a great article or a great feature or something like that. And it also allows us to get in touch with those editors in the magazines to have access to other opportunities within the publications because we've worked and got those connections and built that list. But moving forward to the actual press release itself, these are, I'm going to say they're not hard to write. I know some people find it really, really tricky. But I mean, I'm lucky that I don't. I find many things in life tricky, but I think because I've written, I wouldn't even know how many I've written. Quite literally thousands of press releases. I don't find it particularly difficult. I think the key is to get to the point succinctly, good grammar, good spelling, check it all through, make it easy for the person you're sending it to utilize it and to quickly learn what you're going on about. It's no point sending someone a small book for them to read that you've won an award. They don't want to know all about your customer history and your company history and they don't want to know all of this every time you contact them. If you're launching a business, then the origin story is obviously important, but if you have won an award, you've brought out a new product 6 years after you launched, it's not massively important to know every bit of information. You can include things if you want to in the editor's notes underneath the main press release, but make sure that in the actual press release, you're getting to the point quickly because every person on your list that you're sending this to is an incredibly busy person. One of the other good things about being able to write like this is it makes you explain what you're doing quickly, a bit like an elevator pitch when you have to get out what you do for a job in a short space of time. Because in all honesty, if you are struggling to explain something in a concise manner, can you imagine how confusing that's going to be to your buyer, to your customer? Very, very confusing. It's down to you to make it understandable. So you're cutting out the jargon, you're cutting out things that are difficult to understand. You are just getting the very essence there for them to go, that's interesting, I want to learn more. And you can use this copy in things like, in your product descriptions online. You'll absolutely refine it and tweak it, but you can use the bare bones of it to help inform your audience as well. So being able to explain things in a kind of press release way, not in 3,000 words, in a few hundred words, is a real skill. The more you do of it, the better you will get. I think sometimes we try and explain our whole life story because we feel that every part is valuable. And whilst every part is valuable, it's not always valuable at exactly the same time. I think it's a bit like being stood in a room and having everyone shouting different bits of information at you. You've got no idea what anyone's talking about. With a press release, you just want one person speaking at a time, quickly and to the point. That's the kind of best analogy I guess I can give, rather than you saying, yeah, and we started in 2000. Yeah, and my dad started it. And did you know this? Well, that's lovely, but is it relating to the fact you've just launched a new jacket? No, it is not. What is relevant to the new jacket is that the new jacket is launched, and what it's made from, and why you decided to make it, and what makes it different and special, and what those USPs that can make it stand out from the crowd. And that's the other thing about the press release. Don't just say, we launched a new jacket, it's great. Give people something to go on, because you are sending this out to these editors, these influencers, and if you need to present them with the information, I have absolutely said don't go on and on and on and on and on, because that's not going to help you. But neither is being, just completely vague, because what are you giving people to get attached to? How are you encouraging them to take the next step? So whilst it needs to be to the point, you do need to make sure you have got the points into that press release. And these might be things like the bullet points you would have on a website if you were saying, new jacket available, it's made from X down, I don't know. It's water resistant, it's got this colour buttons, it's made from recycled materials, it's this length, it's made in the UK, all these things, they're the bits you weave into your content. So people go, oh, that's cool, I didn't know it was made in the UK. Oh, that's interesting about the down, I didn't know it was made from recycled bottles. I don't know this information, this is a fictitious jacket. But you need to make sure you're getting it in there. And when you've got that info, it makes it so much easier for you to do more, to develop product descriptions, to create blog posts and blog content. Because whilst you might not want to put in exactly the same content as you would send in a press release, if you want to say, we've got a new exciting product launching, you could make that into a blog with a few tweaks to make it fitting for that platform. You could very easily make it into a blog that would perform really well in that space, because it's made you do a new thing. It's made you put that information together. It's made you get relevant quotes. Maybe you're working with an influencer to help you promote it, or maybe the designer has got some insight into why he put the zip in that place, or why he used this kind of filling. You can go above and beyond and put in a lot more information than perhaps you would put into a press release, and perhaps more than you put into a product description. But maybe you could use your blog area as a way to put a longer, more information, more text there if you wanted to. So whilst you've got the press release as one thing, you can expand it or reduce it to fit what you need to fit. You can also use the content that you've put together in a press release, even for things like social media posts. You can pull out those key bits of information and make them into graphics or quotes. You can make sure that you're showing, for example, all the key features of your new jacket, that you have got relevant graphics and relevant imagery that go with that for social media. Then you can push people back to your blog post that was created from your press release, which you can put in your link in the bio. You can connect down in the copy if it's on that platform that would allow that. And you're making it work really hard for you, but it's not that you're having to create stuff from thin air. You've got that framework there that you're working with, and that can give you a huge amount of of scope really, but also frees your brain up quite a lot. Maybe you can then think creatively about, well, how are we going to show these different points? And that's a really, really important thing to do. So repurposing that content is really, really valuable. You might even decide to take your press release or your longer form blog or your repurposed content and create a mail shot with it because you've done the work. So I think that's really the point. Don't see it as just you write the press release, you send the press release, you move on with your life. Use that information as the hub for how you're going to do a lot more. How are you going to promote what you're doing from that hub? That's why they're not dead. So they are still a great way of telling the press and telling key people what's going on in a succinct way that is likely, if there's ever an opportunity to get you into magazines, to get you onto websites, to give influencers and brand ambassadors that information that might encourage them to feature you or to talk to you, or is a different point to go on. Also, when you send a press release, you're making that the contact with your list, and that can give you the opportunity to say, oh, for them to come back to you and say, oh, we've got this feature this would work really well for, or would you consider doing this? Would you consider doing a giveaway, a buyer's guide, a tried and tested? Would you care to share some of the science and the research behind it that would make a really good article? It gives people the chance to work with you on a deeper level because you are providing them with that information. But it goes deeper than that. That's still incredibly valuable on its own. But if you take it to the next level, if you make it into blogs, if you pull it apart and you make it into smaller bits of content, if you do it well, it can be great. And then the other end, when you do get that piece in a magazine or you've been mentioned, it's really, really awesome. And it does definitely give you, even though I've been doing this for, as I said, a few years now, about 15, it still gives you a really good buzz when you see something in print. Now, if you do see something in print and you do want to use it, you've got to ask permission. Because it's your picture or your words, it does not mean you've got permission to do it. You need to ask permission. I just want to put that out there because it's something that I see happening a lot, and it's really important that you ask the correct permission to use anything that you've got in a magazine. But that's probably another podcast. But do make sure you do ask permission. Also, use the opportunity to thank the editor. It's nice to say thanks so much, I really appreciate it. When they get back to you and say we're going to feature you in X month, X week, thank them a lot, because it's because of their work and their kind of belief in you and them taking on what you've done that you're going to get some really valuable column inches that would have cost you an awful lot of money if you would have bought them as an advert. So I hope we've answered the question that press releases are not dead. In my notes here, I've said, "Are press releases dead?" ? No. So that's the planning. There is more than that. When I'm doing a podcast, I do a small amount of planning, but not too much because I don't want to be reading a script to you. So I always put the key bullet points down. But that did make me chuckle when I just saw no. I thought, well, get to the point, Freeman, get to the point. But I hope that's helped. Inside the mastermind group, I guess this was coming, we do actually do quite a bit on writing press releases, and there is a guide on how to write a good press release, how to build your press list, and how to work with the press. It's something that, even though we do an awful lot around social media and digital marketing, it's still really important to be working with that press list, because that's not just printed media. It can be anyone that you want to contact with your news and with your information and reach out to when you've got cool things to say. So if you want more information about how to create press releases, how to form your press list, and how to make those press releases really, really work well for you, then this is the place to be. So head over to riafreemanpr.co.uk, and at the very top there is Mastermind as one of the tabs. Have a look, apply, reach out to me if you've got any questions. I'm happy to chat things through, and hopefully we'll catch up really, really soon. Have a great week. Take care.